Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Bulls on Parade Talk, providing you with Houston Texans coverage 365 days a year to all of you, the sports fans out there. I'm your host, Joshua Sines, and as you can clearly tell, this preview for the Texans game, Monday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, is a little different. This is a live video. This is not a project. This is not a published video that I do spending time, showing you guys stuff on film. No. Before I get to my thoughts for the game on Monday night, I want to share with you a couple things that have been going on with me in my life. Recently, my place of employment, things have been going on very quickly. Things have been going on that have started to pick up and basically put more on my plate. So I haven't had a ton of time to really sit down during the week and watch tape and provide you, sports fans, a detailed idea of what to expect for the game. Clearly, because I missed the Indianapolis game. It was on a Thursday night. There were big things going on that week. I just had zero time at all between Sunday and Thursday to really analyze the game. I watched it, but I really didn't have time to go to analyze the matchup before the game started. So so that's exactly why on my channel and on my podcast. Now I didn't even do a podcast episode for this. So I just decided to just do this live video and call it good, which I'm thinking of taking down. I'm thinking of just going full out YouTube rather than do both. Now that's still in the works, and I'll keep you all posted on my Twitter, on here, on my Facebook. I'll keep everyone posted as soon as I know more. But including this week, I haven't really had time to really dive down and analyze the matchup and really put it out in a organized fashion, the way I've been doing the first couple of games of the season, which I'm going to get back to doing now once I get things a little more better organized. But what I'm going to do is like I usually do on my previous videos, and let's go down the list of things that I feel are keys, or as I like to call, signs to victory for each team. And I have a couple notes written down here in front of me that I'm going to go through really quick. And a couple of things that I'm just thinking about, about the game in my head. So let's go down the list. So let me pull this up really quickly. Okay, so right away, the first thing that stands out when you look at this matchup is the fact that the Texans have not gotten off to a good start pretty much every game this season up to this point. You know, we've gone through, what are we now? Week 7. First 7 weeks of the season, the Texans really have not, aside from maybe the Raiders game. When we play the Oakland Raiders, that was the hottest start to a football game I have seen the Texans have all season to date. Now, ever since then, it was rough we struggled to get things going offensively, especially early, and even defensively. Particularly in the game against Indianapolis, we had some of our struggles communication-wise defensively. And then offensively, it's just a matter of execution. You know, receivers weren't catching the pass. The routes weren't being run effectively. Blocking wasn't there. So many different things that were going on that just basically handcuff the Texans basically and which is why, which gave Indianapolis the opportunity to go up. What was it, 24-0, something like that? So the Texans must execute, must return to basics and execute from the first snap. We have to get off to a quick start and set the tempo. We must be the ones to set the tempo. Because if we do that and we get out to an early lead, the rest of the game will play itself out and we will be in control. The key is we must establish and keep the control on our side. We cannot let our opponent, particularly the Pittsburgh Steelers on a Monday night, we cannot give them the momentum to start the game. We can't do it. We're never going to win. We're not going to win that way. We cannot consistently win playing catch up. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Seattle. I don't care if you're Houston. I don't care if you're Oakland. I don't care if you're Jacksonville. You are not going to win consistently playing from behind all the time. Can't happen. Can't always happen. And a part of that, you have to get a big part of your offense going early. And so that's why I feel that the tight end, who have been very quiet so far, all of them, Garrett Graham, CJ Fedorovich, Ryan Griffin, most part, the tight ends have been very quiet this season. And for a guy and for a coach that puts a lot of attention to the tight end position in his offensive system, I haven't seen much. I haven't seen very much out of the tight ends. After all the talk about the tight ends in this offense and the potential they would have, especially the talk about our young rookie, CJ Fedorovich, and the potential he had. He's had penalties called on him. He's had drop passes. He has not lived up to what I thought, at least. I thought he was going to be a big part of this offense. But so far, it's just been a lot of spread. So far, it's just been a lot of spread 3, 4, 5 wide receiver sets. Not much action for the tight end. And when I watch the Steelers tape, especially against the Cleveland Browns this past week, where they were basically embarrassed, the tight end was big in that game. Particularly Jordan Cameron. Now, you got to remember, the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns is Kyle Shanahan, the same guy that helped Matt Schaub get off to a hot start when he first came to Houston. When they both first came to Houston, they got off to a hot start together in Houston with that zone run system. And not only did it help the running game, but the passing game just opened up big time. And the system works still. The system still works if you got the right personnel, the right play calling, and everything is executed to perfection. And that's what I saw a lot in Cleveland's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers and why they got so destroyed. The one thing I noticed too, and I swear the tight ends got open so consistently, it was ridiculous. The tight ends, Jordan Cameron in particular, had a field day against Pittsburgh. Especially the one thing I noticed when you watch the tape with all those big plays down the field that Cleveland was able to get, it was a couple things that were about those that you basically saw in Houston the years that Matt Schaub was the quarterback, and why Houston was able to gain success during Matt Schaub's tenure in Houston. You got to remember, at one point, Matt Schaub was the NFL's leading passer when the Texans, there weren't really a playoff team yet, but offensively, Matt Schaub at that point was passing the ball like no one else at the time. But the one thing that always helps out that passing game is the run. And the one thing that you do is when you pound at them, you keep running at them, get you frustrated. And then they go to sleep for a sec. And that's what I noticed. On all those big plays, it seemed to me like every single time they would go to a big play, the defense was so focused on the run. The linebackers were cheating up. The safeties were cheating down, especially Pittsburgh's own Troy Polamalu. And you know how much of a hard hitter Troy Polamalu is. Troy Polamalu loves to play in the box. And when you got him up and when you got him in the box, you can take advantage of those passing plays over the top. And that's what Pittsburgh and that's what Cleveland did. Cleveland took advantage of Troy Polamalu's over aggressiveness and urge to play the run. And he threw it over, and they threw it over his head. One of them resulted in a 51-yard bomb to Jordan Cameron that resulted in a touchdown. Another one was there were bombs all over the place. It was everywhere. They were everywhere. I swear almost every other play that I saw, it was either a big run or a big pass to a tight end or to a guy like Travis Benjamin that was running over the middle. It was big play after big play for Cleveland. They had a field day. And they had a field day. And then the matchup that everyone was talking about before that game was Antonio Brown and Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden locked him up big time. Now, yeah, Antonio Brown had his moments. Sure. But for the most part, I watched that tape and Joe Hayden, oh my goodness. Talk about a staple. Talk about a cover corner. A big key to that Cleveland defense. Joe Hayden is a beast. And it's good that I watch this tape now because it kind of gives me an idea of what to expect when we have to play Cleveland after our bye week. It's coming up that's going to be coming up in a couple weeks. But I'm going to save that preview for then. So, anyway, the Pittsburgh Steelers, that defense does not look the same. That defense is not the same at all. So, if there's one thing I learned from the tape, from their game against the Browns, our tight ends have to get loose. Bill O'Brien has to look at that tape and realize that the tight ends have an opportunity to play big. And if the Texans could go back to what they're good at, which is zone run, and then take a shot down the field like we did in the first game against the Washington Redskins, look out. Because that's what we did in the first game against the Redskins. It's like we were back to 2 years ago. Zone run, take a shot. That's what I want to see. I want to see us go back to that against this team. For all the talk that Bill O'Brien was game plan, was the game plan would be different based on opponent. I'd say the game plan, personally, if it was me, the game plan for Pittsburgh would be go back to zone run, take a shot. Give them some 2 tight end, 3 tight end spots, 3 tight end personnel. Make them play in that base defense with those linebackers on the field and with Troy Polamalu playing in the box. And we got ourselves a very good chance. If we can get back to that style of playing football, even if it's just for this one game, even if it's just for one game, I have a feeling we have a good chance to win this game. I have a very good feeling about this. And then, of course, speaking of defense, for all the talk about, Bill Cowher, Hines Ward calling Pittsburgh's defense soft, our defense has to improve as well, especially in communication, particularly in the matchup versus the in the matchup versus the Indianapolis Colts. Early, we were struggling to communicate. Communication was simply something that was non-existent for the first part. So it is imperative that we communicate effectively to start. And that all goes back to getting all these hot starts. We got to set the tempo early. So, and of course, for Pittsburgh, hold on, let me go through my notes here. Got some notes right here in front of me. Let me look for them really quick. A couple of it's a couple of notes I had written down. Let me see here. Let me see. Yeah, so the first thing, everyone's talking about Antonio Brown and how Jonathan Joseph is going to match up against him. No, I think he'll do a decent job. Now, he struggled against T.Y. Hilton. He's a fast guy. Antonio Brown is more, I believe he's more of a possession. He's no Emmanuel Sanders. He's certainly no Mike Wallace. But let me see here. But I think Jonathan Joseph, I think that matchup will be key to watch. And you can bet these analysts on Monday night are going to be like, "Oh man, Antonio Brown's going to be he's going to be all over Jonathan Joseph," or whatever they're going to say. I just hope that this game stays close so they can talk about the game and not go off on other tangents. So anyway, sorry about that. It's somebody just sent me a message asking me about the game. And, I basically answered the question already. It's not like I needed to repeat it. So, and the other thing too that has been plaguing the Pittsburgh Steelers this season, penalties. And not just the Pittsburgh Steelers, Texans as well. Unnecessary penalties have been killing Houston and Pittsburgh for the first 7 weeks. It's been killing us. Unnecessary ones, unsportsmanlike ones. It's and Bill O'Brien continuously puts a lot of emphasis on discipline. So we'll see if things get cleaned up on both sides. And Mike Tomlin is not going to put up with that kind of stuff either. So we'll see. We shall definitely see. So that's the let me see. As far as anything else, aside from that, it all just basically boils down to execution. I feel like I've been saying that every single time I make a video like this. But it's the truth. It all boils down to execution, doesn't it? The one that executes most effectively and establishes the tempo early and maintains it is going to win and executes down the stretch. Whoever does that most effectively is going to win the game. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, actually doing it, that's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets tricky. But if what I saw in the Cleveland Pittsburgh game is any indication of what type of identity the Steelers have right now, I have a feeling Arian Foster is going to have a field day. Arian Foster is going to have a field day on Pittsburgh. Running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield. It's I can definitely imagine having I can already see Arian Foster just running all over this team. All over Pittsburgh. Now, am I going to go to the point where now am I going to get to the now do I think it's going to be so let's see what's the best way to put this. What's the best way to accurately describe this? I'm not so sure if there's a really definite way to put this, but do I think that he's going to have if it's anything like I think it's going to be, because every time I think of Arian Foster and the Pittsburgh matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I remind myself of the last time we played Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And not Pittsburgh. The last time we played Pittsburgh here in Houston, it was J.J. Watt's rookie year. I think that was 3 years. I think it was the first year the Texans made the playoffs. And it was the first year that because I remember Andre Johnson got hurt. He kind of fell. He kind of just fell down and tweaked his hamstring. And I keep thinking of that game where Arian Foster just went crazy on the Steelers. Now they're obviously different teams. And then of course, the Texans defensive line was just ferocious that year. And Wade Phillips' first year as the defensive coordinator, that defensive line was monstrous. Brooks Reed, Mario Williams, young J.J. Watt. We had at that time, I think we still had Connor Barwin in the back on the defensive line. D'Amico Ryans, Brian Cushing. We had all these big-time players. It was crazy seeing the way that the team played in that game, and I can, as a Texan fan personally, I can certainly hope that we find that identity again. The aggressive defense, and we're aggressive enough, and we love trying to force turnovers, which can sometimes be detrimental. If you're not careful. And I'm going to get to that in my X factors. And that's the other thing too I'll be looking out for, who's going to win the turnover battle. And that's something I always look for. But I think every game to date we forced a turnover. I believe that has been the case to date for the Texans so far. So I look forward to seeing how we're going to force a turnover again. And if anything, if I were to relate this game to any other game that I remember watching the Texans, I would say the Sunday night matchup between them and the Bears, where, the Bears at that time were known for playing physical style football. And we basically walked into Chicago and beat them at their own game. Ran the ball. It was rainy that night. It was raining. We just ran the ball on them. We forced them to turn the ball over. Jay Cutler got banged up. It was And I believe the score was 13-7, I think was the final score. But if anything, if we're fortunate, I would not be surprised if we wind up getting an ending like that, where we end up beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in Steeler style football. Steel curtain style football, basically. So, and then of course, continuing on, if I were to say, so moving on, if I were to say, so those are a couple basic notes here in front of me and in my head I have about the game. And if I had to think of a couple X factors, if I had to consider an X factor for the Texans, I have to say DJ Swearinger, and I'll get to, and I would probably say DJ Swearinger, and there's one other guy I could pick, because I wanted to see if I can pick a guy from offense and defense. On defense, I would definitely say DJ Swearinger. Now, offense, last time when I did not the Indy matchup, the Cowboys matchup. When I did the matchup with the Cowboys, I said the tight ends were going to be key because the Cowboys had struggled defending the tight end. Well, if on offense, I would have to say the tight ends as well, because I clearly I brought it up. Clearly, it's a point of emphasis that I brought up at the start of this episode, and it remains fact. Cleveland was able to establish success in their game against Pittsburgh because of the tight ends and the zone running scheme, allowing them to get them open. And I believe that's a key. That's going to be a big key to our victory if we can find a way. If we can go back to that style of playing football rather than staying in these spread formations, go back to that zone run style, that twin tight end set. But that's all yet to be seen. So going to DJ Swearinger, if I may, if I were to, it's funny. I watched that game against Cleveland, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and Troy Polamalu was basically in the box for the majority of the time. And I couldn't help but think that DJ Swearinger and Troy Polamalu, they're similar in certain ways. They both love to hit. They both love to play the run. They both love to hit hard. They both love to create turnovers. And then of course that hair. No, I'm kidding. No, but they remind me a bit of each other because, while we both love the way the style of play that they have, their safeties playing linebacker. They're safeties, but they play like linebackers. And so that can either help or hurt you. And DJ Swearinger has been prone to getting beaten coverage due to that nature of play. And his own grandmother called him out on it. I'm sure everyone in Houston basically knows the stick about DJ Swearinger and his grandma. That was nuts. But what can you do? When your grandmother calls you out, you know it's serious. So we'll see if that criticism from Grandma Swearinger helps him out a bit. So we'll see. And Troy Polamalu. And so we'll see if the same way Cleveland took advantage of Troy Polamalu's aggressiveness, We'll see if Pittsburgh tries to do the same with DJ Swearinger. And Troy Polamalu, I believe, will be an X factor for Pittsburgh, because if the Texans study the tape the way I think they did, I have a feeling they're going to look for Troy Polamalu, see if he's playing in the box or deep, and try to take advantage of his over-aggressiveness. That's why I feel the zone running. That's why I feel like run first to set pass would be the best game plan for this game. Because I think that's what's going to create better big play opportunities down the field that we've been missing for the most part. For a good part. So Troy Polamalu would be an X factor, in my opinion, for Pittsburgh defensively. Now, if I had to pick somebody offensively, I would probably have to say Antonio Brown. Oh, no. No, actually, I would say Antonio Brown, because you have to think not DJ Swearinger, T.Y. Hilton had a field, as I mentioned before, T.Y. Hilton had a field day playing against the Texans secondary. John McClain, guy who works for the Houston Chronicle, he basically said that T.Y. Hilton has the Texans number. And to a point, I agree, because you look at T.Y.'s stats against Houston, and he's been out of this world against the Texans. So I'm curious to see how they find different ways to give Antonio Brown the ball, and if that offensive line for the Steelers will stand up strong against J.J. Watt, and that ferocious defensive line, which might be getting Jadeveon Clowney back. And that's the other big sign I'm going to be looking out for. Jadeveon Clowney practiced for the first time on Friday in a while. And so the question is, will Clowney come back? And I don't know yet. At this point, it's his decision. If he feels good, he's going to play. That's the last thing I heard in regards to Clowney's status for Monday night. If Clowney's feeling good, then he's going to play. And if he does play, it's going to be limited. It's going to be very limited. Not because he's coming back from injury, but because of the role that he's asked to do. He's not being asked to line up every single play and rush the passer or stop the run. No, they're going to put him in situational spots. They're going to rotate guys in and out to keep him fresh. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens with we'll see how Pittsburgh game plans for Houston's defense. So of course, the main sign to look out for is Clowney. Will Clowney be back? How many penalties are going to be thrown? And who's going to start fast? Who's going to get off to a hot start and keep it going? It's going to be hard to tell right now. But if the Texans can do it, I think we can win. I believe the Texans will win the game. And so Houston, and so with all that being said, if I had to predict a winner, call me biased, but I think this is the Texans' day to bounce back. I know they haven't been, I know Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger is, I believe he's 5-0 on Monday nights, something like that. And personally, I don't like stats that way because it's always different for every team. Yeah, there's something to say about the spotlight, about the Monday night stage, but the stage is one thing, but it's also a matter of if the team actually plays well. You know, you could have history. You're gonna have history on your side all you want, but you still have to got to show up and play. And I think the Texans are going to show up. Now, albeit it's on the road, but we've had some tough competition on the road. We were strong against the Cowboys. We beat the Raiders. Then it was ridiculous the way with the Cowboys game was so competitive, especially at the end of the half. My point is we're very capable of doing so. And I think this is the Texans' day. I think Monday night is the day where the Texans show everyone that, you know what? Some of you might not have us in the playoffs. Well, guess what? We don't care what you think. We're going to come out here. We're going to win the game no matter what. I think it's going to be close. And I feel that the game is going to be close. Both teams love to run the ball. And, of course, Pittsburgh, they got Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount. Big, powerful style runners. Love to actually get between the tackles and actually run over people. And I think this is it. I think Monday night is the day is where the Texans come out and bounce back. Just find their identity on both sides of the ball, show the world, hey, we're Houston and we're not going anywhere. So with that being said, that pretty much wraps things up here on this live edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video below. I always appreciate that. For more Houston Texans coverage, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. And thank you, by the way, to those that have, really appreciate it. I just checked my subscriber count. Apparently, I have now 54 total numbers, so greatly appreciate it. Always fantastic. It's always fantastic to see. Excuse me. Always fantastic to see the channel growing like this, and it basically shows me, where this channel's going. So, and again, you can always keep up with the talk. Follow me on Twitter at Bulls Parade Talk. You can like the Bulls on Parade Talk Facebook page. Always subscribe to this YouTube channel, as I said, and of course, please visit my website bullsonparadetalk.blogspot.com for more stuff on there. And also, this is as I mentioned, this is a live video because I did not have time the past 2 weeks to actually edit, record, edit, and publish. I didn't have time for that for the past 2 weeks. I've just been so busy. But I'm hoping that after this week, when the Texans, because after this game we got the Titans, we got to play Tennessee the next week, and that's going to be tough for me because, I can do I'll do the preview, and I'll have it done. But the thing is, I'm not going to be able to watch the game because I'm going out of town on a business trip that Sunday. So that Sunday afternoon, I'm coming right after church. I'm coming home. I'm getting on a flight to Orlando. So that flight to Orlando, but when I get there, I'm going to do my film study there. So I'm still going to be here after that Titans game. I'll watch it. I'll report on it. And I'll analyze the game versus the Eagles for that week, just to give you an idea of what to look for in the future. So, so one final note, guys, on the website, just an idea to what's going on. One final on the site, guys. Before I go, the website has all these videos on here, podcast stuff. which like I said, I'm thinking of ultimately just going full YouTube. Not sure yet what to do yet, but thinking of all my analysis stuff, all of everything on there. I post Houston Texans football wise. Everything's on the website. These videos, podcast recordings, analysis, breakdowns, everything's on the podcast, on the website. So check it out. This video is going to be on here with some added some added details. So check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. I promise you that. So with that, so hope to see you on there if you're not already. But in the meantime, hope you like the video. This is your host Joshua Sines from Houston, home of the Texans, saying so long and see you next time right here on the Bulls on Parade Talk. Go Texans.